Hi students, hope everyone is safe in your homes. This pandemic situation made us to go with online tutorials. This trimester I am going to handle Business Law 3 paper as you come to know about that. Before getting into the subject, yesterday I have raised with you 3 questions which is related to the subject. One is about the Bhopal Gas Tragedy. Other question is any relation between this tragedy to the subject and also with the Factories Act. Before understanding the answers with the questions raised, I want to tell you about the Bhopal Gas Tragedy, which we say it as biggest process industry disaster in the world. It occurred on 2 days, in the midnight of 2nd December and the early morning of 3rd December 1984 in Bhopal, which is in Madhya Pradesh. It leads to several thousand deaths and more than 5 lakh people being exposed to this methyl isocyanate, which we can say is a deadly gas leakage and other hazardous chemicals, causing a disaster which is sometimes referred to the world's worst industrial disaster. Why this topic has been raised in this paper? Before getting into the topic, that is Factories Act, I want to clarify that why this tragedies is being happened in India. Regulations are not being followed or they are going beyond their regulations. To explain about this, I want to tell you something about history of the legislations. It is 100-year-old legislations when we were discussing about laborers, workers. That is last 2 decades of the 18th century, that is 1880, 1890, 1900s. When we see the conditions of the people, that is employees, workers, or the regulations which they are following in the industries, that is there is no control over the conditions of the employment of workmen employed in industries. Employees used to bargain with the employees. Child employment was predominant in factories. Introduction of machines and new process leads to accidents and deaths. There was no stipulated timing of work. All this result is the capitalist hopelessly exploiting laborers. These conditions urged the need for a law, legislations to protect the workers. These conditions made government to go with Factories Act in 1881 itself, which came into force. Much importance was given to abolish child employment by fixing the minimum age categories. It has been continued with the few regulations during that time. That is, I am talking about during 1881. During that particular period, importance is only given to the child employment, applicable for establishments having 100 workers, no inspecting staff. Initially, this did not serve the purpose for which they has been designed. Then later on, amendments from time to time happened according to the requirements which is happening in the industrial era. That is 1891, 1911, 1923, 1926, 1931, 1934. that is, after the independence, highest concern was given to design a legislation to our independent India with an objective of protecting the workers employed in the factories. The base for our legislations regarding Factories Act is UK Factories Act 1937. That was considered as an updated legislation to ensure the various aspects of the workmen employed in factories was taken as a base. Also, amendments regularly happened in 1954, 1976, 1986. Then, major amendments were passed during 1987. Why it so happened? That is, amendments which has been happened in higher side is only in the 87. Why? Because this Bhopal Gas Tragedy occurred in 1984, and later on, after 3 years, they revealed the weaknesses in the existing law and demanded the need to amend the law by incorporating special provisions to deal with chemical industries and for management of chemical accidents. That is, major provisions were introduced, provisions revamped and explained about the hazardous process. That is, they given a definition where we can go with hazardous process with special care. These are all the things were being incorporated in the 1987 amendment of Factories Act. This is the reason why I want to discuss about Bhopal Gas Tragedy in this introduction topic of Factories Act. What is the purpose of this Factories Act? Many legislations have been introduced to safeguard the employees, that is, to secure, to provide, to ensure, to regulate most of the working conditions regarding laborers, that is, workers, in this labor legislations. This first act, Factories Act, is a comprehensive labor legislation which came into our country, covering all the aspects relating to workers employed in factories. It secures the employees' safety, health, welfare. It regulates the working hours of the employees. It ensures the annual leave wages to the employees. It provides additional protection from hazardous process, protection to women employment, that is, women workers, then prohibition of employment of children who are having particular age category. These are all being covered in this Factories Act. Actually, when we talk about Factories Act, it came into force only on 1st April 1949. It is a social legislation which is having 120 provisions spread over under 11 chapters. As I explained in my Business Law 1 paper, any act whichever we are going through is been covering with the definitions about each act. That is, in every act, when we come across, definitions have been given to clarify the doubts regarding the terms which we are using in the act. And then it is going to continue with the chapters in which the purpose or the objective of the act introduced. That is, as I am showing these slides, Factories Act 1948, regarded as noble and comprehensive labor legislation, which is enforced in our country, which covers all the aspects relates to workers. It secures, it regulates, it ensures, it provides, all related to the workers. These are all the things which is being covered under Factories Act. It applies to the premises which comes under the definition of factory. Now coming to the definition, that is applicability. What is this factory? Which can be called as a factory means premises where one or more workers with the aid of power and using a manufacturing process in their premises means, then we can call that premises as a factory. Or premises where 20 or more than workers are being working without the aid of power, that is without the aid of power in the cases of handicrafts, and by using a manufacturing process means, then we can say that as a manufacturing process. In these cases only the above said applicability will be there for the workers who are all working in the factories. That is, Factories Act will be covered to the people in which it will be called as a factory. That is, jurisdictions will be applicable only to the people who are all being working in a factory, where a factory can be called as 10 or more workers with the manufacturing process, or with or without the aid of power, with the number of workers as 20. This is what the applicability regarding Factories Act. Due to time constraint in my video recording, just I want to give an introduction about this topic. This act is going to cover, that is, focused areas in this act is, it is being given as sections about occupiers' responsibility, inspectors' responsibility, health measures, safety measures, welfare measures, working hours for adult workers, annual leave with wages, what are the strengths of the workers, what are the provisions is being given for women employment, what are the provisions for child labor, or any prohibition is being provided for child labor, or if it is being extended to work as a child laborer means on what conditions. Dangerous operations, which can be called as dangerous operations, and other aspects which is also covered in this Factories Act is, what are all the notifiable diseases which is caused when people are working in the factories, that is, working for long hours in a particular process may affect with diseases which can be considered as notifiable diseases according to Factories Act. Then special provisions related to hazardous process, accidents and dangerous occurrences, statutory notices, registers which has to be followed, rights of workers, obligations of workers, penalties and procedures, all being covered under Factories Act. Let me stop with this introduction about the topic. Just try to understand the slides till this area, and we are going to continue this video lecture in the next video. Thank you for watching my video with patience. Stay calm, stay